Hello, and thank you for joining me today on Loyal World Info. Another day of the globe spinning, another day of global news to digest. I offer a sane, rational voice in an insane, rational time. I will be your host, and let's get into today's topics. And thank you for joining me today. The topics of the day for 4/19/2020. And by the way, I also put timestamps for all these topics of the day so you can skip to the stories that interest you. Look for that in the description. The topics of the day are police assist laborers left homeless, 22-year-old woman strangles her 9-year-old son, street walkers' biggest current fear, inspiring people, believe in yourself and happiness, animal teachers, the wild reclaims the land, and a baby born. China enters Malaysia waters, work from home without child distractions, family law implemented with social distancing, and e-learning, Harvard classes online, and free school resources online. Stay tuned and let's get into this. Okay. Moving on to the first story of the day. This is the story from Laos. This is police assist laborers left homeless amid the convoy and pandemic. Now, I bring this up because this is the second instance of police doing positive, good work versus harsh crackdowns on mandatory lockdown laws. I will leave a link above to where a different government in Myanmar did well at teaching their kids. So look for it up here. All right, now let's get into this story. Police have offered assistance to a group of day laborers found homeless in Chaoyong Park in Vente capital. The laborers say they have no work, no food, and no home. The group consists of workers from Vignette capital as well as Boxby, Xinghong, Bongji, and sub-provinces. Living with the group was a woman some 7 months pregnant. The woman says she had been employed at a rubber factory at KM52 and now had no place to sleep. The group of homeless people has been meeting at Chaoyong Park every day in the afternoon to receive food and handouts from the charitable members of the public. After police were alerted, the group are to be taken to a quarantine center and set up by a task force committee. There they will be housed and fed. Lao went into full lockdown on March 30th, with measures prohibiting all residents to leave their homes except for essential grocery shopping, hospital visits, and other tasks authorized by the government, such as work undertaken by essential workers. Okay, so the reason this brought up to me, not only was this a positive, I would like to know what positive stories you have about the police officers in your community. What are they doing to maintain order and actually good PR, public relations? Furthermore, what do we do with all these homeless people? You know, some places like California, Washington, New York, or other big cities around the world, they have a high homeless population. What do you do with these people if they are exposed and they are like walking time bombs? Where are you going to put them all? They won't even put them in jail because jails are releasing people. So anyway, leave your comments below on what you thought of this article and my request about the police, and we will move on to the next story. Moving on to our second big news story of the day. This one takes place in Japan. Good old Japan. They love writing a crime daily section. All right. A 22-year-old mother arrested for strangling a 9-day-old son. Now, police in Takoshiwa, Asia Preference, said Friday they had arrested a 22-year-old woman on suspicion of killing her 9-day-old son. According to police, Kankyo Shiraka called 119, which is 911 in the West, but 119 in most countries in the world, at around 9:20 a.m. Thursday, and said she had strangled her baby boy at their apartment. Shaka Sharban reported the baby was rushed to the hospital where he died about 90 minutes later. Police said Sharbaka told them she strangled her baby at around 8 a.m. because he wouldn't stop crying, and she became irritated. Shiraka's husband had left for work at the time of the incident. Now hold on for my thoughts on this. Okay, so the 22-year-old woman who strangled her 9-day-old son. My thoughts. We have seen almost every newspaper worldwide try to promote DV awareness and women and children at risk. A publicity stunt. Yes, it happens, but not to the extent that they are sharing it as. I bring this up as it is known women commit almost half of all DV, which is domestic violence, and child abuse, physically, emotionally, and even neglect or death. But you won't rarely see this on the news as it doesn't fit in the narrative. A woman must be a victim. Remember just this past few weeks, Johnny Depp, how she pooped on his bed and she had his finger cut off. There's so many crimes that women do that they won't share with us because they want to make them a victim to make us feel sorry for them. So I just want to put this very aware, and you guys should look at my domestic violence video if you want my opinion on what the media is saying. I'll put the link up above. And what actions do you do to remain civil when spending more time around your family to keep tensions low? Yes, I know families are together, but guess what? Families were together before the 1960s and even in the 1800s. They lived in much bigger groups. So what are you doing to stay calm and to keep the tensions cool? Please leave your comments below. I'd love to hear. Moving on to our third article of the day, and this is about a streetwalker's biggest current fear. The streetwalkers in this article will state their biggest fear: I don't want to infect my children, says the sex worker. Sex workers are facing greater health risk and violence amid the pandemic, and their income is drying up. In countries like India, the situation is so dire that many are turning to unscrupulous moneylenders just to buy food. Okay, so this is taking place, this was in the Asia newspaper. And I bring this up again, I try to show all different kinds of workers and how this crisis is impacting them. In this case, they had the same kind of problems back in 2008, not so much for health, but when the financial crisis hit in 2008, they had no people buying their services. So they had a decade. But let's keep going. Chi-Chi, a mother of two young girls, has been a sex worker in Hong Kong for about 4 years, but she's now struggling to make ends meet in one of the most expensive cities in the world. Yes, why is she in Hong Kong? I never experienced such poor business, says Chi-Chi, who is in her 30s. Since January, when the first case of the virus was discovered in Hong Kong, residents have embraced social distancing, with many staying in their homes and rarely venturing out. That had led to a dramatic drop in Chi-Chi's daily wages. Previously, I could earn about 1,000 Hong Kong dollars, which is about 130 US dollars a day. Now I don't have one customer a day. Every day now brings anxiety for Chi-Chi, not only because of money concerns, but also because she knows she's at risk of contracting the disease. Any customer could be infected, and I always worry. I don't want to infect my children, she says. Sex workers like Chi-Chi are not only highly exposed to the virus, which has already infected more than 2 million people on a global scale, but because of quarantine and lockdowns measures, they have also limited access to clinics and support groups that leave them more vulnerable both to sexually transmitted diseases and exploitation. Some have found that clients are increasingly violent, while others have resorted to riskier ways of soliciting customers due to the loss of income and extreme cases such as in India, where sex workers are taking loans to buy food. I will measure my customer's temperature before entering a room, she says. I also ask them to wear a mask and wash their hands. If they refuse to wear a mask, I will ask them to go away. Chi-Chi was moved from the mainland China to Hong Kong about 7 years ago. Well, what do you mean she was moved? Did she move on her own, or did somebody human traffic her? Okay. So she claims that she cleans the room dignitely before and after each encounter. She fears the disease almost as much as she fears being out of work. I also don't want to go to the quarantine center because I will further lose my income, she says. But despite all of the protective measures, Cece knows she is putting her life on the line and it is dangerous. It is very high risk. No one to turn to. A spokesperson said sex group workers for Hong Kong says that most sex workers have seen their income drastically decreased since last year's anti-government protests they broke it up in last year. So the number of Hong Kong protesters for freedom of Hong Kong started last year. So she had many months, almost a year now, 9 months, to prepare for this. The virus crisis has made things worse as many experience further income voluntary for protective times. Some of them are also facing violence from customers. Many clients wear masks and end up stealing property or refusing to pay for services. The women have had a hard time to identify them, says support workers, claiming that the response from the police has been slow. Ziling estimates that more than 100,000 sex workers in Hong Kong, 90% of them whom hail from mainland China, and the rest come from Southeast Asian countries as well as the European nation. Why did they come here? That's another. Because of the limited resources to provide staff and volunteers with masks and other protective gear, Zhejiang has reduced outreach victims such as delivering information and condoms to sex workers. Workshops on occasional safety have also been canceled, while the group is no longer providing free medical tests. The government clinics have been closed, so they are facing increased risk of sexually transmitted diseases. And if they want to check, they can't go anywhere, Lee says. The advocate says this group of women has no one to turn to in Hong Kong. Sex workers are usually ignored by the government. It seems they don't realize that these workers exist in society, she says. Every sector can ask for stipends and allowances, but sex workers can't have the same demand. Also, because sex workers are not willing to come out. Well, if they're not willing to come out, that's the government's fault? Really? Okay. So, sex workers elsewhere in Asia and around the world are struggling with similar issues. In recent weeks, Thailand has barred entry to foreign visitors based on social gatherings, including night curfews, and are all shut except for essential shops. Okay, I'm going to stop there, and I want to give you my opinions on this article and a few little more detail. So stay with me. Okay, moving on to my thoughts on the streetwalkers' biggest current fear. Why can't they go online? First off, I'm not promoting it, but you do know that there's many e-girls, cam girls, and everything else. So maybe like this girl who's in her 30s, she needs to get with the times and stay safe and indoors at the same time. By the way, I also have a link to Bali streetwalker girls up above about how they were having the same kind of issues. So then why can't they move out of the big cities? She says she's in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is one of the most expensive places, and it also says she moved to Hong Kong. Why? Why can't she go somewhere else that's cheaper? Because she wants to live in a high-end place? Well, that's your personal choice. Then why couldn't they find a decent job in good times? First off, in her case, they said last June they did a crackdown. So what did she do between June and January? Could she not get a sewing job? Could she not go to a convenience store? Could she not do something? Did she? So I don't know. Why am I supposed to feel sorry for her now? As they stated, the crackdown was before the virus. So do you think the government should offer services? If so, what kind? I mean, we read the article that they did sexual education classes, free condoms and stuff like that. Are there any kind of services that you think they should offer? If so, what kind? And she says sex workers don't qualify for government stimulus checks. Well, there's many people around the world for many stimulus checks that do not qualify to get any help. They had to rely on their own savings. So you really should never rely on the government to help you. If they help you, it's a bonus, but it's not a guarantee. And this girl is in her 30s. What will she do when she is 40 and no one buys her services? I mean, right? Don't they say every girl hits a wall, and there will be a time when no one's gonna find her services appealing? So what will she do then? So, and what do we do with the children? Do we let them stay with her, or put them in like a foster home, adoption home, or where are the fathers? I don't know. That's my question to you. What do we do with those kids? Now, what is your opinion on red light districts? Like for example, I'm not knocking the red light districts. Thailand is a very organized one, and if it makes people happy, that's their freedom to do it, in my opinion. But you know, you're responsible for your own life and your own happiness and the actions you do, and you should think long term instead of day by day. That is my opinion. Have a lifelong plan, not a daily plan. Anyway, leave your thoughts below. I love to hear them. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about a famous upcoming sports football star, or soccer in America, and a singer and their music, and how they are the people of today. So the first one takes place about a Vietnamese woman. Happiness smiles on former midfielder Kim Hong. And this is who she is, okay? Now, for many footballers, success on the pitch means sacrificing the youth and loved lives, with nights out at bars and cinemas, with a date replaced with early morning on the training ground and long away trips. However, from HCM Ho Chi Minh City, the national team midfielder was a success on the pitch and in love. For a female player, getting married seems to be normal, but it's always our desire because not everyone can experience the happiness of being in a couple, said Hong. As well as getting trophy haul, Hong came away from her time in a beautiful game with a happy family. I'm happy with my small family. We will welcome our youngest boy next month, said Hong. Now, the reason I bring this up is I want to say where she came from because you know, in America, or in some places, they love these grassroots stories. Like I started with nothing, and so versus I had a gold spoon in my mouth that birthed like Mitt Romney. Anyway, here we go. Hard childhood. Hong was born in 1985 as a youngest girl with 7 siblings in a poor family in the Ho Chi Minh City. Life in poverty meant Hong's schoolwork was interrupted and everyone had to work to support the family. Hong was no exception. She often helped her mother clean construction sites near her home to earn money. And I can say this is pretty common because I've seen the little kids. They will sell coconut drinks. They will sell sandwiches or whatever they can do to help their family throughout the day versus being taxied all over town to entertain them. At the age of 13, she began her love affair with the beautiful game and would sneak out with her sister to play football. Hong would even cycle an hour from her home to Tao Ta Sports Center in District 1. Actually, very nice place. Hong was small but had stamina, speed, and could easily strike the ball like a seasoned pro. After showing her talent, she was selected to the women's football gifted class. Nice. I selected this girl, and I believed that she would one day show her talent, said the former head coach of HCM women's football team. However, Hong's mother was furious when she discovered that Hong ran away from home to play football, as she thought there was no way she could earn a living playing football, so she forbade her from playing. Scarred, but curious, Hong continued to pursue football, hiding her passion from her mother. In 1998, when I started my career, I was given some money by my coaches, and for the first time, I sent 500,000 dong to my parents. They were very happy, said Hong. At the age of 17, Hong made it to HCM City's first team and solidified her spot on the right wing and won the 2002 National Sports Games with her side. A year later, Hong was called up to the national team and quickly became a star. As for her achievements, football gave me a lot of things I'd never imagined when I started the game. I won 3 gold medals, 1 silver medal, and a bronze medal at the Southeast Asian Games, as well as domestic prizes, said Hong. Okay, so I wanted to stop there. So here's my question for you. What hobby or type of music did your parents think you can like the hobby, but it will never generate money? So what did you have to do to prove to your parents that what I like will make money? That's the question I want to know about this girl here. Stay with me. I have one more story to share about a person of the week. My other person of the week is about music. The singer inspired audiences with traditional music and culture. The singer is Hong Do-min, who she made history by winning 4 awards, including Singer of the Year at the 15th Devotion Music Awards. She takes while she talks to men behind the curtain. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit about this, and then I want you to get your opinion. Okay, so during the awards ceremony last week, Hong Thin, she won a Song of the Year award and Best Music Video, and her album Phoenix picked up Album of the Year by was composed by D-Tap about a young girl who loves freedom and doesn't want to get married at a young age. The lyrics are funny and inspired by listeners to sing along. The song Home was won her producer of the year. All right. So the reason I brought this up is that to me, international music has always sounded weird and odd. And so I wanted to share, since she did such a good job, a small video clip with you of her music. So let's now on to the heroes of today, my favorite time of the day. And today's heroes are simply those who are saying thank you messages to foreign nationals. Many times we are already hearing about people giving thank yous to frontline workers like medical staff and police. Other times we're hearing thank you workers to essential jobs, baggers, grocery workers. But this particular group has not been noticed. And what I mean by foreign nationals, all around the world, people are stuck away from their home country. It could be they're in Europe, they're in China, they're in Vietnam, they're in America, but the governments are trying to recall all these people to go home to where they can be safe. Not mandatoring it, but they're doing that. The big problem is because of this outbreak, many countries have closed their borders, closed plane tickets, and people could not extend their visas or whatnot. So they're technically potentially illegal. And some places were even scalping tickets or processing fees. So this article made the newspaper today, and I wanted to share with you. This took place in Vietnam newspaper to the people that have delayed their visa extensions or have problems doing that. So foreign nationals have extended thank yous to Vietnam for keeping them safe and appreciated the nation's effort to continuing the contained virus. To all the doctors, nurses, and military police officers and volunteers, we thank you for making the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe. Awesome. Vietnam, we thank you is a campaign initiated by a couple days ago by Wayne Woild, an English teacher who is living in Vietnam for 10 years. Woild, age 54, and 25 foreigners sent thanks to Vietnam health workers, military and police forces, and volunteers for their great efforts in the front lines against the virus. Awesome couple there. Thank you for keeping us safe. Woolley said he spent time staying at home to read the news about Vietnam's efforts in the fight. He got married to a Vietnamese woman and they have 3 children. He wishes to do something for Vietnam and called his friends to join this campaign, which has been widely recognized. Thank you to Vietnamese healthcare workers for their great efforts. Yes, and I'm so proud of the nurses I trained. The respondents come from various countries like the UK, the US, Germany, South Africa, Portugal, India, Latvia, among others. The majority of them are living in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, Bac Lu or Bang Tre. Thank you for your continuous sacrifices and your bravery and your altruism. We really appreciate you and your efforts. Vietnam, Portugal. Cool. Because of your strength, I was fearless. Humbly am grateful and thankful to you. Awesome. The above South Africa woman wrote that because of your strength, I was fearless, humbly thankful, and grateful. I love it. Look at that, giving away food. Well, Wellard said he has been at home for the past 12 weeks and stayed awake until 5 or 6 a.m. to carry out his campaign with an aim to call the people to recognize their nationalities and stay united. Thank you for all taking care about our health, keeping us safe. Great people, great country, Vietnam. Colin, yeah, co means have. Nice. Oh wow, here we go. Yeah, look at that. All right. Look at all these happy people. There's no fear, there's no sadness here. These are all grateful people expressing their happiness. You know what? You guys can do this back home with your country, with your frontline workers. Some of you are trying to say we should give our frontline workers higher wages or whatever. I try telling people that's not the answer. Something like this will go much further. Dang. All right. To those of you who continue to go out to work to provide the essential services that we need to stay safe, thank you. Nice. Thank you, Vietnam. Hey, all you that you have done is a blessing. We are forever thankful. Come on. Yeah, come on means thank you. Vietnam. Yep. All right. So that is my heroes of today. What do you think about these people? Now, this is my question for you. Mm, what? Yeah, my question for you is: have you ever received help from a stranger? If so, what? And how did you react or show thanks afterwards? That is my question for you. Please leave your comments below. I really want to hear. And I want you to share your story. Okay, moving on to our next story of the day. A baby rhino born in the middle of COVID-19. Now, meet Winnie, the latest addition to the herd of rhinos in Vinpearl Safari, Pakuan. Vinpearl Safari, by the way, is by Nha Trang, a coastal city in Vietnam. Winnie was born on a slap bang in the middle of the virus pandemic, which is why her name was chosen. All right, so positive remark here, and I want to try to show the video for you. So let's see if we can watch this little 2-minute video together, okay? Was so cute. Now, we're moving on to our second animal article of the day. Nature welcomes the change with no tourist wildlife returns to California's Yosemite. For those who do not know, Yosemite is a national park in California and pretty much the most beautiful one in all the U.S. A bear ambles across the forest glades and a herd of deer stroll along the silent road at Yosemite National Park in Northern California, as the virus restricts the amount of people in the wildlife. Now, I wanted to bring this up because even in Asia, they've been posting articles like this recently that many wildlife were seen on the road, or like there were some deers on the road, some monkeys in the trees. So it's nice to see it's kind of going global. And so what I wanted to do is it's very quiet right now in the park. Yosemite, the president said, it's an amazing scene to where you hear nature's sounds of the river, wildlife, and the birds. The wildlife is getting a little bit bolder now because there are far fewer people. Yosemite, one of the best known national parks in the United States, has been closed due to the outbreak, except for a few employees and local residents since March 20, in response to the public health emergency. All right, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you this little video clip, okay? In our last pets article today, it's about pets in prison. The rescue dogs teaching California inmates trust and responsibility. Many of you may wonder, why am I reading a U.S. paper? This actually was printed in The Guardian. So this Guardian is not from the U.S. So the good deeds that they have done made it international. So bright rescue dogs and prisoners together in a remarkable rehabilitation program in California is helping inmates learn valuable lessons. On an idyllic sun-drenched day in California, I find myself in jail. But unlike the 5,000 or so inmates in North Kern State Prison, located 150 miles north of Los Angeles, I'm here voluntarily, accompanied by Zach Zahn, a man on a mission to bring dogs into every U.S. prison. Scow is the founder of Pause Drive Change, a rehabilitation program that pairs rescue dogs with inmates. He began the pilot program in California City Cornfield facility in 2016, teaching inmates to become dog trainers, and it's now been rolled out into 4 more California state prisons. Good job. To date, more than 300 men have graduated from the program, and roughly 200 dogs from high-kill shelters have been rescued and adopted as a result of the inmates' work with them. The shelters accept any animal regardless of their age or circumstance, but they do emphasize a certain percentage if they can't rehome them. 17 of the program's human graduates have been paroled, and so far none have returned to prison. The majority of the dogs they've trained have been awarded the Canine Good Citizen certification in recognition of good behavior and obedience. 2 of the canine graduates have been certified as therapy dogs, and several others are in training to be service dogs with military veterans. Good job. I joined the second week of a 14-week course in North Kern together with 24 inmate students, heard trainer Robert Vendora and Scone. I've been in some form of education my whole life. School, university, drama, school, therapist training, college. But what I witnessed in terms of student engagement is unprecedented. In every classroom I've ever sat in, there's been a healthy proportion of students checking their phones, looking at the windows, chatting, or grabbing a few winks. At North Kern, however, the students are totally engaged, taking copies, notes, asking questions, and sharing knowledge. To have made it to the course, they have to submit essays on what they bring to the program and why they want to do it. The only inmates excluded are those who have been convicted of violence against animals or sexual assault. While the man leads the session, he frequently hands over the program to the mentors, men who've already completed the course several times. In terms of attentiveness to their charges, the students would put any dedicated helicopter parent to shame. They give detailed accounts of bowel movements, how one dog won't eat in front of other people, how another won't go to the toilet until all the others have gone first. Scow explains that the core part of the program involves the students. He never refers to them as inmates. Rather, the trainees are rescuers. Be aware of and identifying their own emotional stages at any given time. Animals don't follow unbalanced energy, so we need the guys to be able to recognize if they're off center and crucially how to get themselves on level again. Okay, I'm going to stop there, but I want to know in your cases what what animal services do you know are used are used in your community? And what do you think about animals being used to train criminals? I would really like to know your thoughts. Please leave them below. Moving on. This is from the Asia Insider. And before we get started, I'm going to put a link up here about a story I covered last week and the week before. Last week, the Chinese went to the Philippines. Then a few days before that, they sunk a Vietnamese boat. And now they are in Malaysian waters in the South China Sea. Okay, so let's read this article, then I will give my thoughts. China's Haixing 8 entered waters near Malaysia on Thursday, according to the ship's tracking website, Marine Traffic. On Friday, it was close to the Petrans-operated West Capella, according to the security sources, who did not want to be identified because they were not authorized to talk to the media. One of the sources said the Vietnamese vessel was also tagged the West Capella. The area is close to the waters claimed by both Vietnam and Malaysia, as well as China. Through its sweeping claim to most of the South China Sea, within its U-shaped 9-dash line that is not recognized by its neighbors or most of the world. The United States has accused China of taking advantage of the distraction by the coronavirus pandemic advance in presence of the South China Sea. I don't think that China is necessarily taking advantage of this problem. I think they cause it so they can handle internal and external affairs. But that's just my opinion. So on Wednesday, Chinese foreign minister spokesperson said Haixing 8 was conducting normal activities and accused U.S. officials of smearing Beijing. A Malaysian security source said the Haixing DZ-8 was flanked on one point by Friday by more than 10 Chinese vessels. Well, that's a lot of boats, including those belonging to the Marine Militia and the Coast Guard. That source also mentioned the Vietnamese vessel. The Malaysian Prime Minister office, the Defense Ministry Petrans did not respond to the request for comment. Zulu Matson, the head of Malaysia's Maritime Enforcement Agency, confronted the Haixing 8, that was Malaysian waters, for the Language Daily Report said, okay, we do not know its purpose, but it's not carrying out any activities against the law, he said, according to the report. The foreign ministers of China and Vietnam did not immediately respond to the request for comment. The Haixing 8 was 324 kilometers, 200 miles off the Malaysian coast, within Malaysia's exclusive economic zone. Remember the EEZ zone, the traffic there. Okay, so actually, if you're that far, 200 miles is like the line. If you go to 199, you actually are crossing the borders into somebody's country. It was flanked by a Chinese congested vessel as it moved its high-shaped pattern consistent with carrying out the survey as it did during the tense standoff in the Vietnamese waters last year. The West Capella was not visible on the tracking data, but security sources said the vessel was in the area. The Asia Marine Transparency, a Washington, D.C. based think tank, has signaled their presence there since last October. Okay, So, well, no, I kind of want to stop here, but this is what I want to say. The current Malaysia government, he actually spoke against China because China was giving Malaysia a lot of money for the old prime minister, and almost like 95% of the GDP was going to pay China's uh, economic package to Malaysia. So the current prime minister ran against the old one, and he won because he didn't want his country to go into debt. Then, like 6 months, a year after he got in office, he then bowed his head and he took Chinese money and resources. Now, Philippines, again, as my other video shows, they told U.S. go away. We want China money. We want China things. So again, when China enters their water, they have to look the other way. Vietnam was the one that was a little different. Vietnam, whether it's this medical crisis or the past, they have not taken anything from China. So they don't have to say anything. But so that is my question for you. What do you say? What do you say when you welcome insane tourist money and businesses and even currently medical supplies from the enemy, and then complain that they are telling you to look the other way and let us do as we please? That's my question for you. Do you think that that Philippines, Malaysia have a place to speak, or should they just bow because hey, we just saved your life? Leave your comments below. Okay, moving on. As you know, many people are socially distancing themselves these days, and because of that, they are working from home. But how are you telling your wife or your kids to leave you alone? A while ago, I recall seeing a story on YouTube about a PC gamer, and he was doing his Twitch live stream, and when he was doing that, his girlfriend or wife was not giving him attention, and therefore she hit him over the head with a cooking pan or something and was throwing stuff at him. It was on video camera. So that caused a big controversy and uproar, and it was also on tape. So the police got involved. But this is the article that came up today. No joke. A Thai family tapes their child to the floor so dad can work from home in peace. That actually kind of looks funny. This right here reminds me of my older brothers when I was a kid. Sometimes they would duct tape me. They would duct tape my mouth and they duct tape my hands, like in handcuff wise, or my feet. One time they duct taped me to the front yard tree, so there was no way I was going anywhere. And duct tape is like that. So, well, worse than that. All right, so the Thai family tapes the child to the floor so dad can work from home in peace. Kids are a bundle of joy until you've got an important Zoom meeting with your boss. And they just can't seem to sit still, that is. In a series of photos shared on Facebook, a mess of toys and an overturned chair can be seen scattered across the room. A young girl lies in the middle of it, all held down by clear adhesive tape, with a pillow and a cushion on her head. Meanwhile, a man in the background clanks away on his laptop. Mom is cooking, dad is working, daughter is lying on the living room floor. Her mother wrote in a post, "The child, if anything, seems pretty content with the arrangement, if her expression is anything to go by." Okay, so what do you think? Can I do that with my nieces and nephews? Oh, I would enjoy that. And I'm gonna move on to something just as more on a positive note. Okay, now as you may have seen in other videos, there has been many places like Vietnam and Malaysia and Singapore and a few other countries, even New Zealand. They said couples cannot get married because the couples will attract crowds for weddings, and therefore, you can't have more than 10 people, 5 people in a room there because it can spread the virus. So some people have actually gone to jail for this. So this is something that happened today. The Condor virus in a first for Malaysia, a couple exchanged wedding vows in a virtual ceremony. Penching Jakarta. The online movement restriction in Malaysia has not deterred couples from tying the knot. Newlywed Mohammed dan Hani du Ponta in National Asha Mahad Sheriff became the first local couple to go through the Akid Kinid, or marriage solemnity ceremony, via online conferencing on Saturday, April 18th. Malaysia is the de facto Islamic affairs, Zulak, whatever, was at the bride's home, said the wedding ceremony took place online following the guidelines provided by the authorities. It's interesting, as it only took less than 15 minutes. The effort is in line with the decision of the National Fatwa Council for Regulations Affairs in Malaysia to allow the solemnization ceremony to be conducted online. So, all right, so this Facebook group. I wonder if it means he gets to have a honeymoon or not. I don't know. What do you think? The, the country on Saturday entered its 32nd day of Movement Control Order, MCO, that bans most Malaysians from traveling unless on essential business and stops people from gathering in groups. In videos posted on Dubak Zur Sofle Facebook's page, the groom Mohammed was seated apart from his 2 family members in the living room of his family. The bride Amish was in her family's living room when the minister and the father were not given. Okay. The couple sat in front of the television screens looking at each other's image via a video conferencing application. I guess application, yeah. App is probably better though. The couple responded to reactions of their marriage vows with the minister as a witness. No details of the happy couple's ages, occupations, or locations were given. All right. So how do you think about that? Is that going to be like the new trend, getting married online? I can kind of see this happening. Gosh, how not necessarily mail order brides, but how they have some of those people. Oh baby, I love you. Oh baby, I love you. They could be from America to Brazil or America to Russia, and then do an online wedding, and then hey, just pick her up at the port, or don't even pick her up. Just hey, when you're knocked off, she'll still get half your assets. But anyway, I congratulate you for being the first to get married online. And here's my question for you pertaining these 2 stories. How does your child interrupt you? Or how do you know to how do they know to leave you alone when you're working? And what have you done to entertain them or keep them busy while you work? Please leave your comments below. I would really like to know. On with the next article of the day. And this is probably going to be the most serious article of the day I do, and potentially the one thing that could be long lasting after this whole thing goes away. And this is how the virus divorced couples face child access and maintenance issues during the circuit breaker period. Now, this technically circuit breaker means Singapore, but I have pulled articles of this same topic up in California, in many other countries of all Southeast Asia. But I decided finally to include today's article because I wanted to talk about this topic. As you know, at least in many Western cultures, lawyers will do whatever they can to exploit money or resources out of one party or the other. And if anything, they try to limit men's access or give excuses or whatever. So let's read the article. In Singapore, One divorced father said he was anxious that he would not be able to see his children again, even after the circuit breaker period ends. His ex-wife has denied him child access during this time. Another divorced father who has lost his job amid the virus outbreak worries that he will not be able to pay the monthly maintenance amount that and be taken to court by his ex-wife. Divorced ex-spouses the Spartans Times spoke to, and they said they were facing difficult times during this period. Just as a little background info, no, I have no wife, I have no kids, but, when I learned at a very young age that if I marry a woman, I would have to support her that pay level through my whole life. I, even as like a teenager, was like, well, what, there's no guarantee for that. There's no guarantee I'll be earning that $50,000 from today till I'm 65 or 80. So to me, that was illogical, and I was not willing to give up my freedom or put myself behind the barrel of a gun to make somebody else happy, because happiness comes within you, not by being with me. So while the Minister of Health guidelines state that access to arrangements are allowed to continue, such as if children take turns to live with either parent, the ministry also said to keep children changes to a minimum where possible to lower the risk of transmission across different households. In particular, for cases when ex-spouses have an acrimonious relationship, sorting out child access and maintenance payments during this period is not clear. So that's a whole other issue, the maintenance payments. You do realize that the U.S. is like 25-30% lost their job. And you know what? When they get a new job, they're going to earn much less. Let's forget that there was 70,000 just in Laos and Thailand, all over the world. So I don't know how these maintenance payments should be worked out, but I do think they should honestly just be 100% abolished, because the family should not be broken up regardless. A family together needs less resources, and it's a better outcome for the child, and the child supersedes the parents. Family lawyer Ryan Charter of Ryan Charter LLP said in normal times some people would use a bit of a sniffles or sickness to deprive their ex-spouses access to their children. For those who want to default to access order, this is the perfect time. Yeah. Oh my God, Johnny has a runny nose. He might have this disease. Or Johnny came back from your house with a sniffle. You may have got him sick. I'm calling the lawyers on you. Yeah, so we know how this can turn out, and it's not going to be in the child's best favor. Access is a particular problem when we are facing in Singapore, even without the COVID-19 situation. Many ex-spouses, in particular fathers who are usually in this situation, since care and control is usually granted to the mother, are going to end up this month without access or be very unhappy. While I feel sad for the fathers never rally together, they never demonstrate, they never vote. So part of it, their problem is their fault for not asking for anything. Even before the circuit breaker period began, Jimmy was given time with his two kids, only on Sundays. But his ex-wife, even though the court had granted him access Saturday overnight till Sunday, but now she has cut off access completely, citing concerns about the family's safety if the children should or shuffle between households. I only have a few precious hours of time with them each week. Now I'm worried that I won't see my kids even after this ends, said Jimmy, who just declined to give details. Now again, like I said, this will probably go. They'll probably implement new rules and regulations that will far last, even after vaccines for this virus are implemented. In response, queries of ST, the Family Justice Courts, said parents should communicate with each other through lawyers or work together to find practical and suitable solutions to access issues, bearing in mind the best interest of the children and the need to comply with government measures. The court reminded parents to cooperate with each other and act sensibly and safely in all arrangements made for the children. Yeah, well, this is one interesting thing. Singapore is a kind of Western thinking. Like in some Asian countries like Vietnam, they have no family court. If you guys have to deal with it outside the court, the government does not want to, nor do they have time to hear your problems. In a way, it's kind of for the better. If there are no agreements, despite the best efforts, parents can write in jointly to the courts with their views or apply for variations or suspension of access orders. The court should be a last resort in partner parenting matters. The law practice family law of Donna Tan said, despite the guidelines, that there were several scenarios where these parents would face a problem. Ex-couples have not already established access orders with the courts, including couples in the midst of divorce proceedings. Maybe they should stop their divorce and stay together. Would have to come to an interim agreement for this period. Those who would have supervised access to the divorce support specialists agencies would also have access to suspend these centers, and they're closed during the circuit breaker period. It's kind of funny because we're talking about these divorce lawyers. You know how there's a pandemic going on worldwide, right? Just last week, Japan lawyers offered all couples who are thinking about divorce, like all housewives, because you're living together. They offered all the housewives a free apartment for like the duration of the lockdown to see how they like living solo. And if they like that, they'd come to their office afterwards to file a divorce. So even in Japan, they're actually promoting women to get divorced. So and others are facing problems, including those who have access to arrangements to have been with their ex-spouses to meet the children outside of such cafes, but the cafes are closed. These parents could try to move to video call contact with the potential for more physical access with their children after the circuit breaker ends. Now, I don't know about that because, I have read stories about like military men from America. They're overseas and they're doing video calls with their wife back home or their kids back home. And the kids just tune out to these video calls. So I don't recommend video calls. What I would recommend is what he said. People were actually doing like water paints or handwriting letters. They were sending the pictures. They were actually doing more hands-on things versus the video calls, because video calls, they were not too popular. So anyway, what do you think? Do you think that this virus will set a new trend for women to walk away and make it harder for men and women and children combined? Will people take advantage of the situation and profit off of your misery? Please leave your comments below. And I have one more question for you on top of that. How are you dealing with your court and family visitations? Are you able to visit? Are you able to meet those the child custody payments? Can you meet those? And how would you feel if your partner put your child at risk to get sick? What can we do to make everyone happy in the family and safe? Again, please leave your comments below. Moving on to the last article, well, two articles of the day, about the last segment. As you may know, I try to bring you e-entertainment, things that are available on the internet that you can do for free. And so in this case, I have two new ones today. I offered Singapore, a Singapore tour, link above, where you can take a tour of Singapore for free from your home. Now today, Harvard University is offering free online classes to those who sign up. So yes, you can say you attended Harvard University. So let's read this real fast. Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Harvard University, a private Ivy League research university in Cambridge, Massachusetts, is offering 67 free online courses for those who want to expand their knowledge and master new skills during self-quarantine. Those interested in applying can simply visit the university's website and view the catalog Online Learning Harvard EVU. So yes, you can visit this link right here, and it'll take you to the classes that they offer. The courses range from a duration from a week to 15 weeks, with subjects that include programming, health and medicine, social science, computer science, art and design, business and humanities, and many more. Although the classes are free, they require a commitment from the online students. Once you choose a subject, a list of programs will appear as an option with duration, time commitment, pace, and difficulty level specified. After choosing a course, an application form must be filled out to get access to the course material. Since the outbreak, many institutions and companies have been working towards keeping the public educated and productive through the e-learning institutes. Among them is a Tokyo-based optics and imaging product cooperation, Nikki, who recently launched free online photography courses that are available through April. Okay, so we're in April. So you can get these courses as well through Nikki in Japan. Now that is for you adults, but guess what? You're telling me I have kids. Well, guess what? My kids will drive me crazy, and I don't want to tape them down like the person in the video we saw earlier. So now we come over here. Preschools bring resources for families to access during the circuit breaker period. Again, circuit breaker period is Singapore, but these classes are free globally, and I will show you the link in a minute. Singapore. Preschools across Singapore are developing and sharing home-based learning resources for children so they can continue their formative learning at home during the circuit breaker period. In a Facebook post on Sunday, April 19th, the Minister of Social and Family Development, Demolished Lee, highlighted some of the digital resources for the parents of children enrolled in preschools can use. Mr. Lee thanked the preschoolers, teachers who volunteered, who developed the resources, and welcomed the coronavirus outbreaks taking place across early development children and development sector in response to the 19 outbreak. The resources were put together by NTUC First Campus in partnership with the Early Child Development Agency and operators. Okay. Parents can visit this website for resources from the MOE and 5 preschoolers operations, including My Rural Preschool and PAP Community. The Families for Life Council has organized a series of Facebooks for families, which air a Facebook Live program featuring the Deputy Director, General Education. On the program, Ms. Snug will discuss home-based learning and take live questions from viewers. The series features daily program with family and childhood development experts. Families of Life Council Facebook channel also indulge in programming activities including storytelling, art, jumping, and Kids for Kids series. Parents can also access home-based learning through Camazer's website, through cameras or mobile app. These activities are categorized according to the age groups so parents can find materials best suited. The website is useful for parents looking to continue their children's mother tongue learning during this period. General services at all preschools and student care centers have been suspended since April 8th, and they'll reopen May 4th. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. So I gave you, and now wait, I'm not going to totally stop because this is what I do want to give you. Here were the websites. They had Singapore together for nursery for nursery 2 students. They had home activities for kindergartens, first and second grade, home activities for infants to kindergarten for all ages, and for ages, okay, and then for the preschools. And this website will be in the links in my description, okay? I will put this in the description under my e-learning section as well. So do something with your kids, get involved, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Well, that will conclude Loyal World News. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Feel free to like, subscribe, or drop a comment below. If you're on the go, listen to my podcast with the link provided in the description. I will see you tomorrow to share more world news.